I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, prescription for your transformation. Real people, real conversations, real success. And making a few last minute adjustments here. I was seeing the fan on top of me. I just hate that thing. I really like to stand up when I'm talking because it just gives me a lot more energy in this process. And I share this truth with you because oftentimes we're in this environment, in whatever environment that we're in, that we really don't want to tell people what's really going on inside of us. And we're just so ashamed of sometimes we're just so ashamed about speaking our truth. Sometimes we're just ashamed to realize there's a certain truth within us because we have this perception that we're less and nothing is further from the truth. And the key that I want to talk about today is a term that I'm really enjoying these days. And that term is dissonance. It's that sense within us that something is out of balance. And when we talk about dissonance, it's really about any kind of those disempowering feelings, whether it's anger or frustration or sadness or confusion or fear, in fact. And so it's any of these things that really put us in the place of disempowerment, of uncertainty. And it's just, freaking uncomfortable. And so what do we do about that? And quite honestly, what I like about that part is simply this. It's understanding that this is our work to do. So just start taking ownership of whatever's going on with you, whatever that feeling is, whatever that focus is, whatever that meaning is, and just take ownership of it. Just acknowledge the fact, it's here, and be curious. Why is this happening? What is it that I'm focusing on? What is it, the meaning that I'm giving to all this? Life, we are creatures of meaning. Everything has to have a meaning. So our life revolves around meaning, basically, when you think about it. Two things, for the most part, emotion and meaning. And so we have to begin to ask many, many different questions because ultimately it's a matter of resolving whatever makes us uncomfortable, resolving whatever makes us unhappy. And in my perception, my belief of the world for us, not to us, but for us, the world that we live in, is that we all desire divine happiness. And again, to get that, you have to resolve whatever makes you unhappy. That's it, straight and simple. And so my question for you, let me just double check something right here. Yeah, I'm live on YouTube as well. So the cool thing about technology today is that it's so freaking awesome. We can do so many incredible things with it. And right now I'm live streaming on 4 different platforms. And I'm doing it all on my own. Don't have a producer, don't have an assistant, and made tons of mistakes through that process and really enjoyed the fact that I kind of screwed up here and there and not taking it personally. I think I figured out my lighting, and it's just a matter of realizing, everything is learning. And when we're unhappy with where we are, guess what? That's a learned process. That's a learned, pattern or program and ultimately experience that we choose to have. It's no different than the food that you like. You like certain foods and you don't like certain foods. I know growing up, I didn't like broccoli. I hated that stuff. And I clearly beets, that was the worst. And so over time, appreciating the value of broccoli and beets. Now, broccoli is one of my favorite ones. Still learning how to eat beets. So what does that mean? It means that we have to have that self-awareness. You oftentimes hear about these very successful CEOs. What's the common denominator with them? And that's self-awareness. Awareness of you. How do you show up? What is your role? And we constantly have to ask that. Being accountable. Edgar Toole, has this interesting process, especially when we're unhappy in the place, the mental state that we're in. Just become that third person, be that observer, without the emotion, and understand what's really going on. So some of the things that we talk about is this, what standard do you live by? because that's the one that also gets us in trouble. It's no different than by whose prescription. And guess what? This platform is called Prescription for Your Transformation. So by whose prescription are you living your life? Again, it's the programs that were handed to us, gifted to us, if you like, by our elders and by other people, and the things that we see on TV and news and learn in school and from our peers, and also at work. Because the thing that we want more than anything else, we want to belong. We are social creatures. There's this intense desire to be connected with others. And when we're disconnected, then it becomes a problem, because then we start looking inside of ourselves and ask ourselves, are we enough? Are we enough to be accepted by other people? And again, that's the biggest thing that gets us in trouble. Are we going to be rejected? Is there going to be loss of love? And so many of the things that we're fearful of are those things that will cause us to be rejected. And so again, it's about understanding, what meanings are we giving these things? What is that focus that we place our minds to? What if we just change the focus? What if we just change the meaning? Well, that's easy. We can start off with that. But even better, why not begin to accept just who you are? Acknowledge that, you have a certain behavior that maybe other people won't like. Okay, great. And honestly, it's taken me many, many years to go through that process. And what is that process? It's not just a fact that as you get older, then you just become more accepting. No, the truth is that it's work. It's appreciating who you are, finding that place of that self-esteem. And so, one way to do that, and this is actually a very clever trick that I learned from one of my coaches, is have a mirror on your table. And I got one right here, a mirror. And so what's cool about this is that on a frequent basis, and I really experienced a major shift, and I'm not a narcissist, not by a long shot, even though, my ex-wife probably, complained that I was. But I'm that person who constantly wants to grow. I'm that person who constantly, wants to improve myself and really find the best version of ourselves, of myself. And sometimes what happens is that you become kind of critical of yourself. And there's another part to that too, which I'm going to share in a moment. But then looking in the mirror, says, well, yeah, no, he's badass. He looks good. And so appreciating the magnificence of who you are. It's fascinating when I talk to my clients. I have a lot of clients, and they all have the same problem. They can't recognize the greatness inside of them. It's the funniest thing. In one of the first calls that we have, it takes them 5 minutes on average to come up with 5 things that are great about them. Actually, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get the point. Ask yourself what's great about you. That's not achievement related. It's a concept I learned from another brilliant mentor, Steve Linder. And the thing is that once we can recognize what's great about us, actually we begin to manifest a lot more of that. But even better is when we recognize the greatness within ourselves, we get to see the greatness in others. When we get into that space of judgment, and I really truly believe, that's a problem that most of us have that really prevent us from really, experiencing life at the fullest. Because as you judge people, you're really not seeing the greatness inside of them. You're not really seeing other meanings about what it is, who they are, what they do, and what their behavior is. And most importantly, you're also looking at yourself in the mirror, because there's a truism that says you cannot see anything in other people that you can't see in yourself. I'm going to say that again. You cannot see anything in other people that you can't see in yourself. So why not stick with the great things inside of you? Why not stick with the greatness that you have, and think of those great qualities that you've actually experienced in one way or another. But because we're so distracted with all the things that are happening in our lives, We tend to forget them. We tend to not give ourselves the gift of recognizing what's wonderful about us. Again, some people call that narcissism. Some people call that being vain. The true definition of narcissism is when you are portraying yourself so that you get validation from the rest of the world. You just want recognition that you're pretty or that you're beautiful, that you're awesome, or these kinds of things. That's different. That's not a healthy ego. That's not being self-actualized. That's not working on the best part of yourself. But recognizing, how great you are, number one, and recognizing how much more greatness you can tap into in yourself. As I talk about, tapping into your authentic genius. There is a genius inside of you. So why not find it? And even better, why not share that with other people? That's a beautiful thing. If we all chose to tap into our authentic genius and find the best parts of us and then share that with other people, this world would be a completely different place. And we'd be a lot happier. We'd be a lot more productive. We'd be more generative. And more importantly, everybody wins. And you win. I think one of the challenges some people have is that they live in a place of scarcity. And yeah, that comes from fear. That's another program that they've learned. It's a misconception. They're a victim of some sort of misconception that really disempowers them. But in the process of them making their problems everybody else's problem and changing everybody else's life to suit themselves, now that's selfish. And in a way, that's also being narcissistic, I think. And that happens so often. You see it all over the place. It's in the soap operas that we watch on TV. It's on Facebook. It's in politics. It's silly. It's absolutely silly. When you make your problems, when you make your issues everybody else's problem, then that's just not fair. I get it. There's so many problems that we all have, and some of them are quite awful. I'm blessed. I am fortunate that I grew up with a great family, traveled all over the world. I get to travel even more now and get to do some of the coolest things, like stem cell therapy. I'm a surgeon, but I did the work. I worked hard to get to this place, and now I'm getting some of those benefits. One of the coolest things that I was able to do last week was, work with an incredible group of people and kind of did a group coaching and an incredible event. Some of you may have heard Tony Robbins, and it was beautiful. I learned so much. The gift that they gave me was enormous. And my hope is, as I was working with them and giving them my insights, and specifically, directed at their personal stuff, that they got those breakthroughs too. And that's why I love doing this platform. I don't make any money doing this. I don't look for the notoriety or celebrity status. I'm passionate about changing people's lives. As I was talking to my coach today, he was drilling on me. Why are you doing what you're doing? He's doing, trying to figure out my passion. And it's transformation to inspiration. Helping people transform their own personal world so that they can smile again. How cool is that? I get to do that every single day in so many different formats. Whether it's as a plastic surgeon, whether I do the stem cell surgery in the Bahamas, or it's through the coaching, or it's through this platform. I've interviewed so many really cool people, that don't have a big stage. They don't have a big community, but they have an important voice that we need to hear. And so that's what I get to do. And so that's where we need to own our own stuff. And the hero's journey, as I was explaining last week, and Unleash the Power Within for Tony Robbins, and I'm going to do a promo for Tony right now. If you want to change your life, one of the things he talks about is immersion, total immersion. You go to a 4-day event, you meet a whole bunch of really cool people, energized people who all desire to change and improve their lives. And you get a lot of different tools and resources to understand how it is you do the things that you do. He doesn't give you, a process by which you need to behave. No, he gives you the tools so you can figure out what your passion is and so that you can make the shift. It's a beautiful thing. You see 8, 9, 10,000 people in an arena, all excited, all energized. I've done a whole bunch of times, so I know. And so my gift then is in this platform, hopefully reaching even more people today And in the future, if you're listening to this, maybe 5, 10 years from now, you're seeing me and getting the inspiration to make the shift. Because here's the thing, somewhere, somehow we got a whole bunch of misconceptions of what's true. And the problem with that is that we don't have enough people in our lives to tell us differently, or rather to help us realize that things can be different. So we are the victim. We are victims of misconception. And so when you see people out there doing silly things, behaving in an abnormal manner, ask yourself, what does that mean to you? How is that part of perhaps your life? What is it that you don't like about yourself? And rather than making that person wrong, simply accepting the fact that behavior sort of makes sense for them somehow. All behavior is motivated by positive intention. All behavior is motivated by positive intention. Now, that doesn't mean that the behavior is good. I mean, good for others. It may be quite harmful. It actually may be quite harmful for the person doing it. But there's this unconscious idea that it does serve them at a higher level. And so when it doesn't happen that way, we have to have the awareness and acknowledgement that this is just not right. And I don't necessarily like the words right and wrong, because what's right for one person is wrong for the other, and vice versa. It's whatever serves you to a higher purpose. It's whatever that empowers you, whatever positively influences yourself, others, and the world around you. And it's important to, again, have what we call the sensory acuity, the ability to see, what you do and how it affects others. And that's what's so crazy with politics. Now, this is not a political platform, by the way, but it's all very silly. I kind of equate it for a bunch of, kindergarten kids in a playground, fighting for the swing, who gets to be on the swing the longest. And it's silly. We all need to grow up, but we need to grow up for ourselves first. We need to be responsible and accountable for our own stuff. We need to recognize that dissonance, that imbalance in us, and actually do something about it. Make the shift. Find people that can teach you. Find people that you can learn from, and grow and expand. It's interesting because I came up with this idea the other day, and this is the cool thing about this coaching that I was doing. And as like Michelangelo, people would say, "Oh, he's such a genius," and he would answer that by saying, "No, it's just a lot of work that I've done over the years." And what he would say was that in every slab of stone, as you chisel away, there's beauty, there's harmony. You just have to chisel away whatever's getting in the way. And I feel the same thing about people. So we have that blueprint of our ideal self, of our best self. It's the alignment of our beliefs, our values, our focus, our experiences, our emotions, our spirit, all of it, everything aligned. You know that feeling. You're just completely in flow. It's just an awesome, wonderful feeling. And so all you're going to want to have to do is just chisel away the stuff that gets in the way. Again, chisel away the stuff that prevents you from loving. So instead of doing love, like so many people will tell you, "Oh, you got to love." Well, no, you got to be love. And to be love, you just chisel away whatever stops you, prevents you from loving, so that you can just be love. And it's the same thing as I say, divine happiness. We all desire that. Define divine happiness any which way you want. I've had people say, no, that doesn't exist. Well, they're just in denial. That's okay. That's their journey. That's their stuff to work on. Okay. Most people are not aware that they have stuff to work on. That's okay too. You see, my coach taught me a great lesson. And then it's, what is my work to do? And is it their work to do? It's none of my business. If they want my help, and I'm available to do it, and I can do it, and I can do it with integrity, and it fits my schedule, and it's in alignment with my spirit and everything else, I'm great. I can be there. And then I can be part of that process. But there are times that I'm just simply not. I was flying back from the Bahamas, where I do my stem cells today. And it was interesting because I was standing in line to go through immigration. And this fellow, a little disheveled, older fellow, says, I hate coming here, and I'm never going to come here again. I had such a terrible experience. And he was blasting away for about 2 minutes. And then he wanted my opinion. And I says, well, no comment, because I didn't want to get into that energy. And that really upset him because he wanted me to validate his bad experience. Well, I didn't have a bad experience, but he did. And then immediately he says, well, you must love this place. So what is it that you choose to love? What is it? What's your role in where you're at? So when you have that dissonance, when you are stuck, begin to recognize what's happening within you. And, sometimes it's not easy. You got your rules. Other people have their rules. I love rules. Why? Because it gives me freedom. There was a time, I'm a rebel at heart. I'm the youngest kid. And I had to fight my way for survival because I had 2 older brothers. And both brilliant men, and I miss them dearly. But then, I had to fight. I mean, my middle brother is 4 years older than I was. So I'm a rebel. I'm the youngest. I'm a rebel. I break the rules. And for the longest time, I was proud of myself. I'm a rebel and I break the rules. And now I embrace rules. We all have rules for happiness, for sadness, for anger. What if we could change those rules? What if we can make it a lot easier to be happy? Wouldn't that be cool? What if we made it a lot harder to be angry? Oh, yeah. How wonderful would that be? How wonderful would it be to be in this place of tranquility, contentment, if you will, serenity, and where whatever curveball is thrown at you, it says, okay, all right, we'll figure this out. It is what it is. Part of it's just acceptance. Part of it's just seeing the bigger picture of things. Part of it is being flexible. Part of it is just choosing a better state. All these different things. And so my hope with this platform is that you get these insights with all the different people that I interview. And my hope is that as I create more structure and I get more support to produce this, because it's a lot of work. You have to understand, I travel a lot, just went back and forth to New Zealand twice in the last 3 months. The Bahamas a whole bunch of times, been up to Chicago, just now to Newark. It's almost like I'm traveling 2 to 3 weeks out of the month. And to really consistently make sure that I have a high quality program with my backdrop and the lights. I think finally figured out the light today. And it's tough, but I want to make sure that I'm consistent in getting you that information, and also consistent in bringing new people to the table so that you get to hear different people. I love it that people like, Tony Robbins and other great figures out there, have their platforms, you listen to them. But the truth is, I'm not Tony Robbins, nor are you. And so sometimes it's kind of fun just to hear what regular people are doing, and the insights and the secrets and the talents that you can have as well. I mean, Tony Robbins, he's a genius, an incredible mastermind in being able to influence the lives, and let me rephrase it, in transforming people's lives on such a large scale. But then my coach, for example, Chad Cooper, I mean, he's brilliant too. And I have the fortune to be coached by him. And today had some, a brilliant session about different things. And so we all need that coach. We all need those mentors, and also the deceased mentors. I mean, Lincoln, for example, read his books. The Greek classics, Aristotle, Socrates. I mean, such brilliance out there. One of the series I like is called The Philosopher's Notes. Summaries of 400 to 500 brilliant thought leader books that can absolutely help you. So I'm going to wrap it up by saying this. If you're not happy with your life, it's because of all the decisions you've made to this moment. So it's up to you to change your decisions. Make different decisions. You can't blame anybody else for that. You can't. It's not going to help. As long as you keep on blaming others, and as long as you stay stuck in the problem, you're not putting energy in the solution. I think that's something that many people forget. They're so stuck in the problem, and what they are actually doing is they're satisfying some of their needs, need of significance. They want to be important. They got a bigger problem than you do. Okay, great. It's a way to connect with people. One of the main social currency, I guess, is misery. I mean, think about it. More people talk about the things they're unhappy about than what they're happy about. It's easier to connect with other people with their misery. Just think about it. I mean, just pay attention to the conversations that you have. Same thing with the media and newspapers. You're more likely to pick up a newspaper with some dramatic headline versus one that's kind of soft and happy. Why? Because we're also wired, to see what's wrong in life so that, we can protect ourselves. We are wired to preserve ourselves, to survive. Makes sense, but it's not fun. And it's easy thing to do. It's a lot harder to be more in that generative space, partially because it makes other people feel bad. I notice it with my wife. It's great. I mean, I love the fact that she has all these wonderful things to say. And sometimes she just simply upsets people because she's also positive. Well, I'd rather her be positive. I'd rather her celebrate all the cool things. I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world because she's constantly celebrating things. And that's awesome. Rather than seeing what's wrong and complaining about stuff. It's just not fun. So again, understanding what your model of the world is and what that means is what are your rules? What are your beliefs? How is it that you process information and perceive the world around you? And having that awareness and having the awareness of dissonance is your work to do, then you can make the changes. So thank you for listening. I hope you got something out of this today. It was much an impromptu talk. And just stay with this program, Prescription for Your Transformation, because I'm constantly going to bring you new ideas, new insights. There's a wonderful archive of last couple of years of great interviews. And if you want to be interviewed, just check it with us. Send me a Facebook message, and I would love to do that. I'm really looking for those thought leaders, those transformational artists who really are in that generative space so that they can help you as well. And in turn, perhaps you can get them to coach you. So I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation. Real people, real conversations, real success. Helping you tap into your authentic genius. Finding out where that brain intelligence is, that body intelligence is, as well as that energy intelligence. Thank you so much, and I'll be back soon.